Twilight is not a bad movie, and today I will tell you why. So, in honor to the future Valentine's Day, I decided to make a review on the most complicated movie in some kind of point of view of people and some cringy way movie, Twilight. Yeah, I wear t-shirt in honor to review this movie. To start with it, I will be a lawyer of only at worst Twilight because I think that specifically the first movie is not that bad as it perceived in a movie society. And actually, I think that the first Twilight, cinematography wise, is really nicely done and has an interesting way of style, unique filming, and I will tell you more about it in a bit. The first movie, Twilight, was released in 2008 based on the series of a book written by Stephanie Meyer and produced in the future movies. So, starting with the director of the first Twilight is Catherine Hardwicke. She wasn't really famous at the time, and she had only two indie movies before filming Twilight, and the first movie was 13 in 2003 with Nikki Reed, who is playing Rosalie in Twilight series. And it was an indie movie about teenagers, about 13 years old girl who wanted to experience life, adulthood, and it had like this indie movie style of filming. And the second movie, then that she was a director, was Lord of Dogtown in 2005, and this movie is about skateboarding boys and about skateboarder culture, also in the way of indie movies filming. She hasn't had the experience of filming a romances before, so Twilight was her first romance-based movie. Film production actually was lost in like a shooting days was only 44 days, and this was even more than they expected. I mean, film full movie in almost 1 month is crazy. They had to postpone and make longer days because at that time Kristen Stewart was a minor and she still had to study, so she could only work 5.5 hour per day. So that's why days were longer, like more days. They used more days than I actually expected. Budget was super low. I mean, comparing to movies are filming now and how many budgets they use, this is like nothing. The whole budget for the movie was $37 million, and most of this money were reduced because of right issues with the book. Actually, so there was not a huge budget at all, and in the end, the box office of this movie was $400 million. I think it's a quite successful at that time box office. I mean, knowing that they only spent $37 million. Regarding cast, so Kristen Stewart was at that time already a popular actress, and she was first taken for the main role as Bella, and only after that all they came in along. I mean, the whole Cullen family were found, like actors were found in like mid-February, like a month before starting actually filming movie. For Edward Cullen, first Stephanie Meyer wanted specifically Henry Cavill to play him, but they used Robert Pattinson. One of the interview, Henry Cavill said like, "Oh, they told me that I was already old and I was only 25 years old." So he was too mature to play a 17 years old Edward Cullen. And also a fun fact is that for Cedric Diggory, Henry Cavill also supposed to play Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter movie, but Robert Pattinson eventually took a part. So it's interesting that they two actors basically cast for the same roles. Also, Robert Pattinson didn't read a book before audition. He said that he went there because he knew that Bella will be played by Kristen Stewart, and he really liked her and appreciated her work. So he was like, "Yeah, I want to join the movie." And he never read before like a romance books or like a vampires books, never. And only after that, when he get the role, he further read the book. He said that Edward was super creepy in the books and for stalking mode. Now moving to filming. Thing that I appreciate a lot is how this movie is filmed. And I mean, by filming, it has like a specific unique style. I'm not, I'm still questioning some kind of phrases and dialogues in these movies. They can be weird, can be creepy, but I mean, it's also based on a book. You cannot just like rewrite a whole book. I mean, right? It's not the problem of a director or a screenwriter. It's already a problem of original source. Filming, like you can see, I don't know why it stopped after the first movie. I mean, after the first movie, it became less and less visible, but all the dialogues are happening when something is done. I mean, like actors and characters are always in action when they do dialogues. It doesn't matter, are they grabbing food or washing dishes or moving around or slightly turning. They do not stand. They almost never just stay still and talk. There's always some kind of action, so it doesn't get boring when you hear such dialogues, especially in this case of a Twilight. But when you move and compare the first dialogues in the first movie to already further dialogues in a more latest movie, see that there's like no action. They just stand and talk. Like specifically, there's like a stable shot and nothing is moving. And I mean, in the first movie, because the budget was low, they always have to come up with the creative ideas how to make the movie not boring and like always being in action. It's really interesting way of portraying a dialogues. I mean, it also more realistic look like because you never see two people just standing and having a dialogue in the woods, especially. Yeah, I mean, he do not usually have dialects in the woods, but if it was the case, you always have to move, like, and it's natural. You can compare yourself to the characters. So this is one of the points that I really like about the movie, and I think it should be appreciated. Second, what also gone after first movie, almost gone. I mean, the second they tried to implement that, but it wasn't that successful, I think. But that the nature is one of the actor. Nature in the first movie is not just a background and a nice box for two characters to stand and talk. Nature in the first movie is deep. I don't know how to properly explain that, but it's always deep. It's not just like camera, just not stand it and use it as a background, but it goes inside the wood. We see depth of it, like trees, flowers, grass, everything are in there, like in depth there, and not just standing as there's like a plain background for them, a pretty box, but it's around them. Like you really can see a depth. So you put like two characters and then around them, and doesn't matter if there's a camera, and there's also continue being wood and forest and nature. In the latest one, it's already become like just a nice wall to the characters. It that doesn't have anything in depth as it should because there's a lot of meaning. Like there's a werewolves live. Collins have their house in the woods. It's also like part of them. Like they're predators, so they live in the woods. And I mean, it's kind of makes sense. First movie has a lot of atmosphere. The colors like of this green and really stylish, I would say, in that terms. I mean, it's really like a little bit of an indie movie style, but it really suits the whole Twilight settings. Another thing that get less and less with the further movies, and what the first Twilight establish actually like in the movies, right? Really royal style of vampire portraying vampires. Modern, like old money almost. Like they look really unique, royalty based. I mean, vampires always looked like they're like a graphs, right? Even a Dracula, he's a graph, he's rich, he's kind of like royalty. And here you also can feel it from a Collins when they come to school. They not dressed like others, like old money, this type of family or kids, rich kids, when you like can see a posh kids, always like in a Paul Ralph Lauren, they're rich but they will not show off, kind of like that. And it's really suits Collins because I think it's like, yeah, vampire. They had a lot of money, long term money, and they're really elegant. Like you can see that they not from this world, that they still perceive the same gestures and features of the century before, but they try to fit in. Whiter and more dead looking, like a vampires. In the further movies, they became more, I don't know, maybe it's because of color correction. And the first movie was really dull with the blue and greens and more whites. And also I really like this color collection. It's so nice fitting to the movie. And after that, it became more warmer. I don't like it. I mean, vampire, warmer colors suit new moon for werewolves. I agree with that. But the blue colors, it's really like a dead people, it suits the vampires. Something not is not alive, lack of this redness or blushiness of a human being. Also, during the shooting, vampires had a specific trainers with the dancers to get these plastic moves, and this is also something that royal people do. They always have really plastic without super sharp moves. Also, what I appreciate, you don't have a lot of budget. Usually you have to come up with creative ideas. And one of idea was where Collins playing baseball when the fires like who drink actual human blood and kills coming to the field to make this really nice effect of coming in to the shot. They used a specific plastic carpet that was super fast. Like someone dragged it and then it dragged the actors, and it was like a slow mo, but it was super hard to stand on it, and it was really like it's a real clear carpet, and they had to just like drag it, so the actors were also dragging in. So sometimes the advert is super fast. Robert Pattinson is the one who comes in shot, and like for example, getting out of the car, it's already a dub person. One of the reason why Collins are showing that with a sparkle, it's a skin of a killer Bella. Only once, like no, twice, right? It's because they used CGI on it, of course, and they could afford it only once. That's why it's was only a few times and for such short amount of time. Another interesting fact: last scene, this dress for a prom dress for Bella, it cost only $20, and the most expensive item for the whole movie was a suit for Robert Pattinson. I mean, he looked nice in it. There's no other such movies, right? As a Twilight, like a first Twilight, because it's really nice. So this was my short review about Twilight, and think you like it. And I really just wanted to share my personal opinion. I mean, I read the books. I also watched the movie when I was younger, and also I rewatched it now. And I think the first Twilight deserve more popularity and not such amount of hate, but I also understand why. But it also not the worst movie. So leave your comments down below. For Valentine's Day, you can rewatch Twilight again and tell me your opinion. So bye.